Do you want to shoot Insta360 footage like a pro? Well, today I'm going to talk you through my exact settings and my exact process to get absolutely stunning footage from your X3. Riders, welcome back to Sam's Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes, and today we're going to go through my exact settings of getting the most out of your Insta360 X3. Because a lot of you riders put down in the comments, Sam, how do you get the footage to look so good? Well, a lot of you riders out there wouldn't know that for the last 25 years before I started YouTube, I was and still am a professional photographer. And at the peak of my career, I did a one-on-one portrait with Rihanna, which I'm still kind of shocked that I did. Anyway, riders, now I throw myself down mountains for a living. Jokes apart, I'm going to show you all the custom settings that I use to get the most out of the X3. And a massive shout out to Insta360, who came on as a sponsor at Sam's Bikes about 18 months ago. And I've absolutely loved my time with the X3. It's a 360 camera. So what does that mean? It has two lenses and it shoots absolutely everything. And the reason why I love this is because I never miss a frame. So when I have it on my helmet or on my chesty, it shoots everything, and then you decide at the end when you're editing it what you want to show in your video. So in this video, we're going to show you, first of all, how to set up the camera, the 3 go-to mounts that I use, and then how to edit the footage at the end. And everything we talk about is going to be in a Jumplist. So in the show notes, check out Jumplist at Sam's Bikes. Now, what is a Jumplist? Well, I just found it. It's a new website, new service, where I can put all the products I'm talking about in a Jumplist that you'll see just here. And if you buy a product from my Jumplist, yes, if it is an affiliated site, I do earn a little bit of commission. I'd love to know what you riders think of this new service and if it's something that you would use. Okay, first up, let's set up the X3. So the first thing you want to do when you're shooting on any camera is format the card. There could be a problem with the card. You could have used it with the other camera. So it's just a really good habit to get into. So we're going to go in and format that. So first of all, you go into settings and you go all the way down to card, SD card, and then you hit format. Okay, so now let's dig into those settings. So we're going to swipe right to go into the sort of more custom settings. So we've got automatic and manual. You want to be in automatic. And then we've got color. So in color, we've got standard, log, and vivid. Now, I kind of always go in standard and I add my color later. If you're just going to edit on your iPhone or on your computer, not do any color grading yourself, then I would probably shoot in vivid. But I find that's too contrasting, adds too much color for my liking of editing. And then we go over to white balance. Now, I live in Spain, so I set my white balance to a manual white balance of 5,500 Kelvin. And then we go into exposure compensation. Now, I normally shoot this at minus 0.5. Because it's a 360 camera, sometimes it does overexpose a little bit. So I like to have an image that is a little bit underexposed more than a little bit overexposed. And that's it. So we're out of those settings. Now, we go down into the settings again, down to the right. We want to go down to video bitrate. Now, that is how big the files are. Now, if you are going to just be uploading to Instagram, then maybe just keep it normal because the files are going to be a lot bigger. But I always have it set to high. And then this is a big one, video sharpening. Now, because I sharpen my videos and color grade my videos in post-production, so in Final Cut Pro, I always have this at low. So now the camera's all set up, let's have a look at my go-to camera angles, positions, and mounts. Now, riders, I'm only going to show you 3 because I don't think you need too many different angles and mounts to make a really interesting video. And remember, all the products I'm talking about are in my Jumplist in the show note. So the first shot I like to call the establishing shot, and we're going to be using an Insta360 selfie pole. So on the X3, we actually edit this out in post-production. So it looks like the camera's floating. So what I do is I put this over my shoulder, keep the camera steady, and if I ride up a hill, you will see like it looks like a drone's following me. And also with the establishing shot, I also sometimes like to slowly bring it over my head and then flip the camera so it goes in front of me. This also works really well when you're doing time lapses. So you'll see it in some of my range tests. I use this a lot to kind of go from 25% to 50% use of the battery. So that's the first shot. And the second shot for me is my go-to. And all my reviews, this is how I set it up. And so what we have is we have a full face helmet, we have the Insta360 helmet mount, then we have the Insta360 cage here, and also to get that killer crisp sound, I have a DJI external mic, which I put together in post-production. Again, riders, in the Jumplist below. Now, what I love about this is your head works like a gimbal. So the footage is super stable. It does look quite similar to a chesty, but because like I like to use Loic Bruni as an example, when you see Bruni riding down a hill, his head doesn't move. I'd like to think I kind of do the same thing. But definitely when you're smashing down a downhill, your head is the stillest part of your body. You can put it on the chesty, but I think it looks better and it's a little bit higher and gives a better point of view with the helmet cam. And the third and final mount is the Selfie POV or reverse selfie or whatever you want to call it. So we have a handlebar mount here, the selfie stick and the X3. Now remember, you can extend the selfie stick here, and as Bayer pointed out, you don't delete the pole. You don't see it when you're editing the pole. Now, this works really well if you're talking about, I did it with the pinion gearbox motor. I was just talking about the motor. You want to make sure that the ground is not too rough. I have tried it going downhill. You can use the footage for a very short period of time because it is quite bumpy. Even though the X3 does have amazing image stabilization, it does get a fair bit of bounce from it. So I would say this is best for talking to the camera and also just showing a different angle for a very split second on your video. Okay, so now back to the studio and I'll show you how to edit this footage. Okay, Legend Riders, now we're on my desktop and check this out. So we have our Insta360. So this is the camera mount folder. And the way I like to set it up is like to have my raw folders. So that's all the files that you take off your small SSD card. You put it in the raw folder. And then you have the edit folder, which is where you export it and put it in there, because I like to keep it in that format. I think it's a nice format. Okay, so we'll close that up. Now, we're gonna open up the Insta360 Studio, and this is a free download from the Insta360 website. So let's open that up. Now, we'll maximize window, and we're gonna open files. We're gonna go and look for those files. So we're gonna go desktop, we're gonna go camera mount, we're going to go raw, then we're going to select all of these files. It is really important that you copy all the files from your SD card, not just the files that look big, like 3 or 4 gig. You want to copy everything over because the Insta360 software needs it all. So first up, let's have a look at the lay of the land. So at the bottom here, we have the timeline. So this is the full timeline of the downhill. Now, we want to scroll through and find where the jump line is. And the jump line is here. So basically, you want to trim this down. So if you pull this little white line over, this will trim the timeline down to what actually you want, because the files of the Insta360 X3 can be quite large. So we're going to just take this snippet here. Okay, so now what we've got is this is our timeline here. And then we'll put it to the start. Now, at the top here, we've got flow state stabilization. You want to turn that on. Directional lock you want turned on. You don't really want to worry about any of this stuff here in stitching. So you've got dynamic stitching and you've got optical flow stitching. I normally leave it on optical flow, but if I do see a bit of a problem with the stitching, I will play around and try dynamic stitching, but leave optimal stitching on. The rest of this at the top here, you really don't have to worry about. And then we're going to go down here and we have the keyframe marker. So a keyframe, so with the Insta360, so as you can see, if I get my mouse and just push it back, you see this is everything. You've got all the footage here, but the beauty of the X3 is, okay, so I reckon that looks pretty good there. So we're gonna add a keyframe there. And this is what I absolutely love about the X3. Check this out. So this is an edit we're doing for YouTube, but if we wanna do like a sneaky short or a story, check out this. We can change the perspective and make it from horizontal to vertical. Check that out. How awesome is that? Super versatile camera. Okay, so we're gonna go back to 16:9. So we have added our first keyframe. So now we're gonna hit the space bar and we're gonna watch this. And I generally just try and keep things level. If you make it too level, it does look more artificial. So I don't do too many keyframes, but especially when you're coming like just here, when I'm coming off this wood feature, I will just sort of make that look nice to the eye, and I'll add another keyframe there. And now when I come off, also we come around that corner over this jump here. And as we come into this corner here, I will add a keyframe here and also another one here. You know, the automatic software or the AI software does do a really good job of keeping it centered. But when you're doing like big like hairpin corners, you do need to put more keyframes in there. So we're gonna add another one here, and then another one here, and then another one here. And then as we come out of the corner, I'm gonna straighten it up a little bit. So now it should be, and as we come over that jump, one more, and then just clean that up a little bit. And I reckon we're good to go here. Because it's in a straight line, because we have directional lock turned on, it's gonna do a pretty good job of it here. I'd say that's very good. And okay, so we've got all our keyframes. We're happy with it. So now your keyframes are done. All you need to do is export this file. So we go down here to the bottom right, and we click this button. Now, first up, you need to find the folder where you're gonna save it into. So we go to desktop, we look for camera mount, and we've got the raw, but we want to put it in the edit because this is the edited footage. So we open that. Now, I always go down to encoding format. I use ProRes 422. That's just a bigger file. It's a cleaner file. Now with resolution, our timeline is 1080, so high definition. It's not 4K. But if I wanted to export 4K, I have actually been doing some tests with it, and I don't think you lose that much detail if you export it as ProRes. So if you want to export this as a 4K, all you do is come up to the resolution here, and it would be 3,840 pixels. Now you could export it like that, but because our timeline is 1080, I'm going to put 1080 back in here and export. Then once it exports, you are ready to put it into your editing software. I use Final Cut Pro. Then I will sharpen it, and then I will color grade it in Final Cut Pro. So there you go, riders. Now you can shoot and edit like a pro with the Insta360 X3. And like always, riders, got a question? Want to know something new? Just put it in the comments below. I love to help. And riders, if you have not subscribed to Sam's Bikes, please do so. Share it with like-minded people. It really does mean a lot. And you know it out there. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.